Chapter 13. Making the Perfect Fundraising Ask. Lessons from Obi Wan, Gandalf, and Morpheus. Universal Challenge. Let's go to the movies. And when we go, what will we see? If it's a blockbuster, we'll often see a similar underlying story. It's called the hero's journey. The hero's journey is a universal story. It's found across cultures, lands, and times. This universal journey is launched with a challenge. That challenge is the call to adventure. The prospective hero must choose: stay in his small, self-focused, ordinary world, or go on a costly adventure to impact the larger world. The journey won't be easy. It will require sacrifice. But there is a hope of victory. Along the way, a guiding sage will help the hero. The sage will introduce the hero to friends, allies, and magical instruments. Ultimately, the hero will prevail. He will return victorious, bringing a gift to enhance his original world. Through the journey, his original identity will become a new, enhanced identity. Externally, he will be honored. Internally, he will be transformed. Universal steps: identity, challenge, victory. Joseph Campbell calls this story the monomyth. He summarizes it as 1. A hero ventures forth from the world of common day. 2. Into a region of supernatural wonder. 3. Fabulous forces are there encountered and a decisive victory is won. 4. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons on his fellow man. This hero story describes an identity enhancement journey. It progresses through original identity connects to the challenge. The challenge connects to a victory. The victory connects to an enhanced identity. Or, as a cycle, identity links to challenge, links to victory, links back to identity. 1. The journey starts in the ordinary world. This is the source of the hero's original identity, defined by his people, values, and life story. 2. The decision to venture forth into a new world is the challenge. 3. Accepting this challenge ultimately results in a victory. 4. The hero then returns with a gift to improve his original world. His journey enhances that world, the source of his people, values, and life story. It enhances his standing within that world. His victory results in public honor and private transformation. It leads to an enhanced identity. Fundraising challenge. In fundraising, advancing the donor's hero story is powerful. It can inspire major transformational gifts. As in every hero story, the journey is launched with a challenge. This fundraising call to adventure happens at the ask. It presents a choice to either stay in the small, self-focused, ordinary world of personal consumption or go on a costly adventure to impact the larger world through philanthropy. The heroic fundraising ask will include each story element. 1. The donor's original identity from his people, values, or life story will inspire accepting the challenge. 2. It will be a heroic challenge. The choice will be costly. It will require sacrifice. 3. The challenge will promise a victory. The promised victory will enhance the donor's identity. It will protect people or values linked to his identity. It will improve his external or internal reputation. The heroic ask links identity, challenge, and victory. What does such an epic ask look like? We'll look at some fundraising examples. But first, let's go to the movies. The classic monomyth films demonstrate these heroic ask elements. The call to adventure, let's go to the movies. Star Wars, The Hobbit, and The Matrix are all classic monomyth films. They're also the highest-grossing movie franchises of their times. In all three, the guiding sage delivers the call to adventure. The sage challenges the prospective hero. Leave behind your small, self-focused, ordinary world. Go on a costly adventure to make an impact for good in the larger world. The challenge is clear. It's a simple yes or no choice. It's not easy. It's a big ask. But the challenge promises the hope of victory. And in each case, the sage links the challenge to the prospective hero's identity. The message is this: take this challenge because of who you are, your people, your values, or your life story. The monomyth call to adventure matches the compelling fundraising ask. These movie scenes reveal an archetypal pattern for real-world fundraising. Star Wars, call to adventure. Identity comes from one's life story, people, and values. The call to adventure scene in Star Wars begins there. It begins with the prospective hero's life story and people. It begins with Luke's family. Luke: how did my father die? Obi Wan: a young Jedi named Darth Vader, who was a pupil of mine until he turned to evil, helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights. He betrayed and murdered your father. Now the Jedi are all but extinct.
How did my father die?
A young Jedi named Darth Vader, who was a pupil of mine until he turned to evil, helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights. He betrayed and murdered your father. Now the Jedi are all but extinct.
The life story continues by including values. Obi Wan: Vader was seduced by the dark side of the Force. Luke: the Force? Obi Wan: well, the Force is what gives a Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
Vader was seduced by the dark side of the Force.
The Force?
Now, the Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us, it penetrates us, it binds the galaxy together.
Luke then hears the clear, simple challenge. It comes first from Leia. Leia: I have placed information vital to the survival of the rebellion into the memory systems of this R2 unit. You must see this droid safely delivered to him on Alderaan. This is our most desperate hour. Help me, Obi Wan Kenobi. You are my only hope.
I have placed information vital to the survival of the rebellion into the memory systems of this R2 unit. My father will know how to retrieve it. You must see this droid safely delivered to him on Alderaan. This is our most desperate hour. Help me, Obi Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
And then, from Obi-Wan: Obi-Wan, you must learn the ways of the Force if you're to come with me to Alderaan. Luke: Alderaan? I'm not going to Alderaan. I've got to get home. I'm late. I'm in for it as it is. Obi-Wan: I need your help, Luke. She needs your help.
You must learn the ways of the Force if you're to come with me to Alderaan.
Alderaan? I'm not going to Alderaan. I've got to get home. It's late. I'm in for it as it is.
I need your help, Luke. She needs your help.
The challenge is clear. Leave behind the small, self-focused world of farming. Make an impact for good in the larger world. It is a stark yes or no decision. The challenge is immediate. The crisis, opportunity, is now. This challenge links with Luke's identity, people, values, and life story. It links with the story of his father. It includes the spiritual values from that life story. The challenge promises a victory, saving the rebellion. This victory links back to Luke's people and values. The rebellion fights against his father's murderer, people. It fights the dark side, values. The promised victory is personally meaningful. It is meaningful because of who he is. It is meaningful because of his family, values, and life story. It is also meaningful because of who he will become. The promised victory requires learning the ways of the Force. The journey will lead to a personal transformation. The decision to accept the challenge isn't a mathematical cost-benefit analysis. It is a matter of identity. Luke must accept the challenge because of who he is. He must accept because of his family, values, and life story. Like the Epic Fundraising Ask, this call to adventure makes a clear challenge. It links the prospective hero's identity to the challenge. The challenge promises a victory. The victory promises an enhanced identity. The Hobbit, Call to Adventure. In The Hobbit, Gandalf arrives in the Shire. He immediately makes a naked call to adventure. Bilbo, can I help you? Gandalf, that remains to be seen. I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure. Bilbo, an adventure? No, I don't imagine anyone west of Bree would have much interest in adventures. Nasty, disturbing, uncomfortable things. Make you late for dinner. Good morning.
Can I help you?
That remains to be seen. I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
An adventure? No, I don't imagine anyone west of Bree would have much interest in adventures. Nasty, disturbing, uncomfortable things. Make you late for dinner. Good morning.
Gandalf makes the challenge. Bilbo says no. Gandalf is unfazed. This initial refusal is a normal part of the monomyth story. Gandalf responds. He responds with identity connections, people, values, and life story. He mentions Bilbo's mother. He mentions Bilbo's earlier life. Gandalf, to think that I should have lived to be good-morninged by Belladonna Took's son, as if I were selling buttons at the door. Bilbo, beg your pardon? Gandalf, you've changed, and not entirely for the better, Bilbo Baggins.
To think that I should have lived to be good morning by Belladonna Took's son, as if I were selling buttons at the door.
Beg your pardon?
You've changed, and not entirely for the better, Bilbo Baggins.
The full call to adventure scene happens later. Gandalf brings a large audience to Bilbo's house. Each of them has already committed to the challenge. Their leader explains why his people, values, and life story compelled him to accept the challenge. Gandalf lays out the challenge with a map, his proposal document. It is a quest with enemies, a treasure, and an epic victory. His presentation even ends with a formal contract to sign. The challenge is clear. Leave behind the small, self-focused world of the Shire. Go on an adventure to impact the larger world. It is urgent. The group is leaving in the morning. It is a stark yes or no decision. Bilbo resists. Gandalf again appeals to Bilbo's identity. He mentions Bilbo's life story. Gandalf: I remember a young hobbit who was always running off in search of elves in the woods, who would stay out late, come home after dark, trailing mud and twigs and fireflies. A young hobbit who would have liked nothing better than to find out what was beyond the borders of the Shire. The world is not in your books and maps, it's out there.
I remember a young hobbit who was always running off in search of elves in the woods. He'd stay out late, come home after dark, trailing mud and twigs and fireflies. A young hobbit who would have liked nothing better than to find out what was beyond the borders of the Shire. The world is not in your books and maps. It's out there.
Again, Bilbo resists. Again, Gandalf appeals to Bilbo's identity. He mentions Bilbo's family history. Bilbo: I can't just go running off into the blue. I'm a Baggins of Bag End. Gandalf: you are also a Took. Did you know that your great-great-great-great-uncle Bull Roarer Took was so large he could ride a real horse? Bilbo: yes. Gandalf: yes, well, he could. In the Battle of Green Fields, he charged the goblin ranks. He swung his club so hard it knocked the Goblin King's head clean off.
I can't just go running off into the blue. I am a Baggins of Bag End.
You are also a Took. Did you know that your great-great-great-great-uncle Bull Roarer Took was so large he could ride a real horse? Yes, well, he could. In the Battle of Green Fields, he charged the goblin ranks. He swung his club so hard it knocked the Goblin King's head clean off, and it sailed 100 yards through the air and went down a rabbit hole.
Bilbo consistently resists with rational cost-benefit analysis. Gandalf consistently responds by focusing on Bilbo's identity. He highlights the people, values, and life story elements that support taking the challenge. Bilbo must accept the challenge because of who he is. His identity compels him to say yes. This includes Bilbo's life story, his adventuresome youth searching for elves. It includes his people, his ancestor who defeated the Goblin King. It is spurred on by an audience of others committed to this same challenge. Bilbo also must accept the challenge because of who he will become. The promised victory will lead to an enhanced identity. Gandalf: you'll have a tale or two to tell of your own when you come back. Bilbo: can you promise that I will come back? Gandalf: no. And if you do, you will not be the same.
You'll have a tale or two to tell of your own when you come back.
Can you promise that I will come back?
No. And if you do, you will not be the same.
Like the epic fundraising ask, this call to adventure makes a clear challenge. It links the prospective hero's identity to that challenge. That challenge promises a victory. That victory promises an enhanced identity. The Matrix call to adventure. Perhaps the most famous decision scene comes from The Matrix. The guiding sage Morpheus says, "This is your last chance. After this, there is no going back. You take the blue pill and the story ends. You wake up in your bed and you believe whatever you want to believe." You take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
The challenge is clear. Leave behind the ordinary world. Go on an adventure down the rabbit hole. It is urgent. This is your last chance. It is a stark yes or no decision. But just before this challenge, Morpheus focuses on Neo's identity and life story. He says, "Let me tell you why you are here. You have come because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You've felt it your whole life, felt that something is wrong with the world. You are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, kept inside a prison that you cannot smell, taste, or touch. A prison for your mind."
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
Morpheus reveals Neo's identity as a lifelong prisoner. This identity compels Neo to take the challenge. Unless he takes the challenge, his identity will not change. The epic challenge elements. In each of these films, the guiding sage presents a heroic choice. It is a stark yes or no choice. There is no just a little bit option. Each challenge comes with a deadline. The threat or opportunity forces a choice. There is no maybe someday option. The decision is clear, but the choice is not a matter of statistically analyzing pros and cons. It is a matter of identity. The guiding sage shows the identity elements, life story, people, and values that support taking the challenge. The sage's message is this: you are the kind of person who accepts a challenge like this. The epic call to adventure links identity, challenge, and victory. The hero's identity compels him to accept the challenge. Identity links to challenge. The challenge promises a victory. Challenge links to victory. The victory is personally meaningful because of the hero's identity. Victory links to identity. The epic call to adventure includes the full story cycle. The compelling fundraising ask does the same. The story cycle ask: identity, challenge, and victory. The fundraising ask itself can verify each link in the story cycle. 1. Identity links to challenge. 2. Victory links back to identity. And 3. Challenge links to victory. It can do this in just 3 sentences. 1. Identity links to challenge sentence. Quote, you have here describe a connection with the donor's identity. 2. Victory links to identity sentence. Quote, "You understand," here describe how the victory would be meaningful to the donor. 3. Challenge links to victory sentence. Quote, "Would you consider a gift of blank dollars to," here describe the promised victory. This might sound like the following. 1. You have changed so many lives through your support of our job training programs. Just as your mother liked to say, giving people a hand up, not a hand out. Identity links to challenge. 2. You understand how this new technology center could provide real opportunities for young people who start out with nothing but a willingness to work hard, just like you did. Victory links to identity. 3. Would you consider a gift of $100,000 as one of our leadership-level donors to help transform our community in this way? Challenge links to a victory. Or 1. You have meant so much to this football program since your days as a player over 30 years ago. Identity links to challenge. 2. You understand how this new stadium expansion would launch our program onto the national stage. Victory links to identity. 3. Would you consider a gift of $2 million to lead the campaign to make this a reality? Challenge links to victory. Or 1. You have been so dedicated to improving the lives of patients at this hospital, going back even before your own father received care here. Identity links to challenge. 2. You understand how this new campaign against cancer can change the lives of so many right here in our community. Victory connects to identity. 3. Would you consider a gift of $100,000 to help fund next year's screening clinics? Challenge links to victory. Or 1. You have been well known in this community as an advocate for our youth summer camps. Identity links to challenge. 2. You understand how camp scholarships change the lives of young people, giving them a chance to learn and grow just as you did in your youth. Victory links to identity. 3. Would you consider a gift of $50,000 to create the Smith Family Permanent Endowed Scholarship Fund to give that opportunity to future generations of campers? Challenge links to victory. These asks include the full story cycle. They link identity, challenge, and victory. This can make them deeply compelling. The Epic Fundraising Challenge. Heroic amount. How else does Epic's story inform practical fundraising? In story, the prospective hero faces a stark choice. It is a yes or no decision. In fundraising, this means asking for a specific amount. But how much? In story, the heroic decision is difficult. The challenge is hard. In fundraising, a heroic donation is not a quick and easy choice. To make a meaningful story, the gift must be a meaningful amount. The heroic donation is a sacrificial gift. It is a stretch gift. What is this number? Some charities have the research to estimate donor capacity. When the estimate is correct, the right number is simple. It's 100% of capacity. All hero stories require 100% of the hero's capacity. But what if we have no idea? We could guess. A major gift is typically 10 to 25 times regular annual giving. Or we might share stories of others' gifts. This is just a conversational way to introduce a gift menu. Each menu option has a price. A donor's reaction to the amounts can hint at what is possible. Why not just leave it open? You might say, give what you can, anything helps. But this doesn't work. It won't inspire a major gift. It doesn't work because it isn't a heroic challenge. It's begging. It's not a call to adventure. It's a call to convenience. It's a mundane choice in a mundane story. That story won't motivate a major gift. The Epic Fundraising Challenge. Heroic audience. The guiding sage can make the call to adventure alone. But, as in The Hobbit, it can help to have the right audience. Gandalf makes the final request at a dinner. The guests have already accepted the challenge. They share why they have done so. This can work in fundraising too. Peers or aspirational peers who have already pledged are a great audience. As in The Hobbit, they can share why they have accepted the challenge. They can create a donor community of fellow adventurers. The Epic Fundraising Challenge. The guiding sage makes the ask. Audience members can help, but they do not make the ask. During the moment of the ask, the audience role is to be present and be silent. As Holly Million explains, quote, "At this time, the board member should pretend to be deer caught in headlights. No motion, no comments. The temptation will be great to break the silence and reduce the awkwardness, but everyone needs to shut up." Coordinating this silence is important. Thus, quote, "not having prearranged signals between solicitation members," close quote, can be a key roadblock to a successful ask. Making the ask is not the role of the fellow donor. It's the role of the guiding sage fundraiser. Delivering the compelling call to adventure requires experience and expertise. Conclusion. Advance the donor's hero story. Knowing the full story cycle can lead to a better ask. It can also lead to a better follow-up. A no is not the end of the story. It's a normal step in the hero's journey. The yes often comes later, and a yes is not the end of the story either. The charity must still deliver a victory and enhanced identity. Otherwise, it's not finishing the story. That's an experience the donor is unlikely to repeat. The one big thing in fundraising is to advance the donor's hero story. That story requires a fundraising ask. It requires a call to adventure. The elements of the effective call to adventure are also the elements of the effective ask. The ideal challenge links to the prospective hero's past identity. The challenge promises a future victory. The promised victory results in an enhanced identity. It provides private meaning or public reputation. The ideal challenge comes from the hero's guiding sage. The sage challenges with a heroic choice. Who is this sage? It is Obi Wan, Gandalf, Morpheus, and you.